So. Tell me about your dreams.
My dreams? No, you can grill me about my guy. I'd be fine with that. I've already watched like a couple hundred episodes almost.
Well, without my phone, it was I'm going to have to pull up some receipts. I'm just going to give you my interpretation of how that went down for me. Because it was like a drive that I was having.
Did you listen to anything else besides?
I listened to one, but I listened to it all the way through.
The 75 hard one?
Yeah.
It was a military guy.
No, the first one was a guy who shot Bin Laden in the face or whatever. We'll get to that, why I think that's wild in and of itself. I know what it is. They go right into like the first 3 articles. They do like this thing with this guy.
No, they're doing CTI.
So,
yeah. CTI is where they just get 3 random shit.
Yeah, articles, right?
Yeah, that's most podcasters do that anyway.
So we don't even have to like get into the articles because it's just like it's like you're picking 3 of the most outrageous articles out of America every day. Like this is the United States of America.
They're not
like,
always outrageous. Some of them are just weird.
Every article they picked is wild AF. It's wild stuff's going on.
That's why it's called AF.
Okay, so they're talking. Okay, so let's just start right there. They're talking about how whenever you used to have disagreements with people, you could like have disagreements and have a beer with them, and then you're like good to go, right? So, in a way, I kind of agree with him. I think that our interaction on these things has changed. However, I think it's because of the internet. I don't think it's because people just became like less moral. Like he would probably come at it from a direction of like there's less men in the family, there's less like responsibility, like personal responsibility.
You haven't listened to most of his stuff, have you?
I haven't. I only listened to this one thing, but I'm making an assumption of like the direction he would come from it. He might not come from that direction, but
you nailed it.
I did? No. He would come from it in that direction.
He does a lot does a lot of...
That's kind of what I was expecting.
But there is kind of a problem with not having men in your family, to be honest.
If you don't have a father in your family, that's going to affect... Or a father figure. Yeah, or a father figure.
It doesn't matter which one.
True, it doesn't have to be your biological father. I definitely agree. So... I think the more interesting question is like, what is the difference between like humans having face-to-face conversation versus internet conversations? Apparently, so far, it looks like people will say shit online that they would never say to another
Because back in the day, if you said that shit in your face, you got your ass beat.
And we need to like decide like what online spaces are going to be. Are they going to be Call of Duty, fucking Black Ops lobbies where we just say the wildest shit to each other, knowing that we'll never see each other? Or do we like have some like reasonable, grounded discussion? It's like, okay, you think a lot differently than I do. I think a lot differently than you do. Like, how can I pull us together closer on things that we agree on? Like, let's have like healthy conversation. I would say, yeah, it's really new technology, and it's not like this like idea of like men not like losing their like crumbling statue of a Greek god somewhere is like what the like issue is with like America.
Okay, let me back up because you're going too far for me.
For sure. Yeah.
I gotta catch back up.
Take your time.
You said something about the space. What's online going to space going to be? Right now, it's like the metaverse shit they're doing, which I haven't ever been on and I don't do it. I don't care. But you can buy properties virtually that are properties in real life, which I don't know why you'd want it. Or there was a lady who just got mad and she got sexually assaulted in the metaverse.
That's a wild article. That's a wild thing to pull from the...
But it's something that happens.
That's a wild thing. That's crazy. I agree. That probably did happen. I'm not going to fact check you on that.
But we used to take video games. We used to take video games, and when we shot you, we'd teabag you.
Yeah.
I mean...
No. So there's something to be said about how fast things are changing online. Because, like, I remember being in Call of Duty lobbies where the N-word was just thrown left and right, up, down. It was everywhere, right? Do you remember these days?
Have you not been in the Call of Duty lobby lately?
Are they still this way? I'm pretty sure you get banned now. People report you, right?
No, you don't get banned as easy now. But I was in one the other day, and every time this dude got killed, he just said the N-word. Every time. Just constant. So you always hear their last thing in their mic whenever they die. And it was just that.
I do,
that.
Yeah.
Because he was on the...
You get the kill cam. You get the, like,
he was on the opposite team, and I shot him like twice, and I was like, what? Why did he say that? Well, then the next round, he was on my team, and everybody killed him. He was like, just bam,
that was his go-to word.
Bam, bam. And I was like... And then when we got done, because we lost, he was calling them cheating N-words and all that stuff. It got really... Like, he was...
That took some turns.
He was pissing some people off.
I thought that they would report you if you played video games and you started using, like, that doesn't happen.
Only if you're streaming. They don't keep track. So the problem with Xbox, and one of the things that happened with all this, when did this happen? Back in 2020 or something. It was back whenever Congress started pulling it was during the elections when they were doing false.
Which elections?
The Trump and this one.
The most recent one, 2020?
It was during whenever they were pulling Facebook in and talking to them about how they're steering one way or another.
Their algorithm.
It was when Congress pulled them all in, and everybody had to come in. TikTok, all of them. Well, not TikTok. Twitter, Facebook. They subpoenaed Google, and Google was pretty much like, "Fuck you, we're not coming in," and didn't show up because they didn't care. But they answered. They asked Mark Zuckerberg, "Would you mind if I ask you where you ate yesterday?" And he goes, "No. I don't want to tell you."
Mark Zuckerberg?
Yeah, he was sitting in that seat. He
said
that.
In a garage in a car.
I downloaded my food.
You remember the metal things with the wheels that we would put together? They were like Legos, but they weren't. Do you remember what those were?
Erector sets?
Erector set. I bet that's what Mark ate.
I have all of our Legos. Sets.
I'm gonna need my X-wing back.
You gotta put it back together.
I'm telling you right now, on camera, I want the X-wing back.
So,
I don't really care about most of the other
I want to go back to the Facebook thing. They grilled him and they said, "Would you tell me every place you ate every night?" And he goes, "No, Senator, I don't think I would." And he goes, "Would you tell me where you stayed the night last night?" He goes, "No, Senator, I wouldn't." And he said, "Then why are you doing that with us? Why are you taking everything we do and putting it out there for everybody to see?"
They're collecting data because your data's worth something. If Google can curate,
it's not Alex
ads,
Jones, but one of the guys thinks a bunch of people think that they're trying to make AI with all the data.
I think they want to sell shit to you.
That's
what they're doing.
The last JRE thing I listened to with the programmer, because Joe was like, "Oh, tell him don't you worry about taking over," and he said no, because they can't do certain things that we can do. They can't grab something and know how hard to grab it without smashing it. They can't think, because they only are programmed to spit out what...
They have adult minds. They just do problem solving.
So if you text, if they know that if somebody says this, there's certain replies, they only reply with that. They can't think outside that box and come up with something different or assess the situation differently than just those. It only knows, if it knows that 4 people answer that question this way, it only knows that, whereas a 5th person could change the course. It
only knows what it's been taught and what it's been taught to put out into the world.
So therefore it can't.
I listened to this podcast not that long ago. This is a little bit off subject. We'll get back to your guy in a minute. But I listened to this podcast not that long ago. It was talking about the difference between children's brains and adult brains, and it was talking about how children, it's they're in a constant mode of tutorial, game tutorial. They're trying to figure out what are the resources available to them, and how do you interact with them in the most efficient way to build yourself up and get the resources that you need and build the tribe that you need. They're just all about it's all beginner mode shit for them. And as adults, our brains are wired in a way, and it kind of crosses over too, but our brains are mostly wired in a way to be what's the problem? How do I fix it? What's the problem? How do I fix it? I already know all the resources I have available to me. Just show me the problem, and then I'll try to solve it. We're only...
That's why they say your 30s are your best times.
Because
you've taken your childhood, teenager, young adult life, and you can take all that knowledge, and when something hits you in your 30s, you're like, okay, we do it like this. Okay, we do it like this.
Yeah.
And it just slides off because you're not.
You told me my 30s would suck. I remember you told me that.
Because you start waking up and shit hurts.
Well,
or things that did certain things don't do it anymore. You can't. Right now, I got something wrong with my elbow, and I don't know what it is, but if I squeeze my hand, it used to not hurt. Now I squeeze it, and I feel a pain. Stuff like that.
That's nerve damage, dude.
It's also harder for me.
Arm?
I'm trying to learn Spanish, and it's really hard for me to learn. But
German,
I can pick up like that.
Are you going to learn Spanish before I do, and I have a Spanish?
You have somebody to speak it with, too. That's a problem. No, it's because at work, the other day, I was at a house, and there were some painters, and the guy who spoke Spanish left. And I had to ask about a wall because I wanted to do some work on
English.
The English, yeah. Well, he translated. Well, there was a wall I needed to do something to, and it smelled like wet paint, but I couldn't tell, and I didn't want to touch it. So I asked the guy, I said, "Is the paint wet?" And he kind of looked at me, and I said, "Is paint wet?" So finally, I was like, Google Translate, I said, "Is this paint wet?" in Spanish. And I pulled it up, and I went, and pointed at it, and he sat there and he goes, "Oh, sí." I was like, cool. And I was like, that's all. And I left. I said gracias and left. But construction has a lot of Spanish. And they always
you're gonna hire some Spanish speakers?
No, I want to learn it. And people, I know that the majority of them know English. They just choose not to tell you.
I'd be pretty upset if you learned Spanish before I did.
I can pick up German like it's nothing. It doesn't take me long.
You've been more familiar with that language. It's something that you've been fucking.
And I know how to pronunciate. Well, I used to speak it fluently when I was a kid. I don't know anymore. I can get enough in trouble and ask for directions.
You should do that. You should do German.
Because, well, me and him do.
You know, there's this group of Texas people that live in a town that's like super German, and they like speak German, like their own like version of German. There, it's like Texas German.
So the Amish speaks a version of German, but it's Dutch. So
Dutch, yeah.
But it's still German. It's the same pronunciations, but it's got the same pronunciations and same kind of.
Dude, I was watching this TikTok yesterday. I'm sorry, I keep coming off. We'll get you back. I was watching this TikTok the other day about how the United States, like they did a map of like when the United States invaded Normandy, and they pushed down, and every unit was like this little circle, and it showed you like, then you can see them like one unit gets on a road and just like liberates all the towns this way because there's no army to like stop it, and they have like way better it was just really cool to like see how fast World War II went once we landed in Normandy, and once we just fucking and like also the slugfest that was going on between Russia and Germany was like millions of people were fighting.
That's one of the real reasons why.
Line.
If Germany went after Russia, they would have still been a powerhouse to deal with. And they probably would have won.
Probably would have won. Yeah.
But Stalin didn't want to. I mean, he had his own things, but Hitler was so paranoid with all the shit that was going on that he didn't trust Stalin. So they started playing that fear, and they eventually got into split. And he went after Russia.
Did you see the video of Hitler geeking out at the Olympics?
No, but
he's hot as shit. He's just like rocking back and forth
so
at the Olympics.
A lot of his best speeches were when he was methed up and had a huge shot of testosterone
and adrenaline and all kinds of B vitamins. That doctor was giving him. I listened to a podcast about that, but yeah, that doctor was giving him all kinds of shit. But this is this video of him watching the Olympics, and he's just rocking, and the officers around him are like just standing still.
Well, you know that he had so many body doubles that you never know if he was there or not.
I did not know that.
He would, if he thought somebody was even thinking about killing him, he'd send a body double out there to do the little wave shit, or fucking stand there, or drive in a car.
Did you watch the movie that Tom Cruise did, where he was the guy trying to blow up Hitler, and they do the whole assassination attempt?
No.
It's pretty good. Tom Cruise is a jewel. He's an insane person, but he's a jewel of an actor.
The last movie I watched like that was Inglourious Basterds.
So where was I at?
Gonna go back to this.
I always get like the red flags always go up when people say they, and they don't address exactly who they're talking about.
So
it's like a group of people.
So I can tell you what because I know his little thing now.
Yeah.
They is the established elite, not just. He doesn't go after. So the one thing I like about him is he doesn't just differentiate. Like he doesn't go after just the left wing and stay good to the right. He's a libertarian. He doesn't think there should be this much government. He thinks it should be a little bit lower. They were there for a purpose whenever they started.
That's the main conservative viewpoint, though, is that we need to be conservative with how much we spend. We need to be conservative with
less government.
Yeah.
Meaning term limits. People can't stay in there all their life.
I think both sides agree with that. I think that
right now, I'm just going to say left. I don't mean it Democrat, but people who lean left, because I'm an independent. I stay in the middle. I like both sides to a point, but I don't like all of them. Like, I was okay with Donald Trump, but some of the shit he did, kind of pissed me off. But the majority of the stuff he did, I was okay with. I am not okay with the former one now.
You don't like Biden?
No.
I'm going to try to blue pill you on Biden. That's going to be my goal.
You can blue pill me all you want.
I'm trying.
But there's so many things that I've seen him mess up on. There's so many things.
Okay, are they all like his speech, though? Is that like a thing that you have a problem
The
with?
speech, one, he shouldn't. He's
Okay.
he's sliding cognitively. That's not it. It's the policies, and here's the thing. I gotta back up.
I guess we gotta go policy.
I can't blame the presidents themselves on policies that they sign, because not all of them are their thing.
They're the leader of that party, though.
But
so they
no,
kind of are.
not just that. They still, if a majority wants it, a fair president would be the one to say, okay.
If the president didn't agree with a policy, he absolutely has the power to veto that policy. That's like part of his.
Does he read every policy?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
He has aides, I'm sure that
And they're like, okay, it's good.
Well,
it's good.
Hold on. Now you're kind of making it seem like policies are signed every day. Right now, our
No.
government.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if he has a stack of shit he didn't read all thousands of pages.
There's always like a video of him signing it. It's always like one paper thing, and he's like,
but
they
there's
sign it
other
real big.
things
Remember
that you
Trump
don't
would
see.
turn the thing around. You remember there's videos of him doing it
Because
he
has a
do
big
it
head. And
often.
he thinks that he's God.
Most of what he's doing is running around like meeting with different parts of his cabinet. He's not signing like that shit doesn't. I'm trying to think how many things that were passed by Congress were signed by the President Biden. I can think of 2 off the top of my head. I think. Like how many bills has Congress passed? I know the infrastructure one because I'm super proud of that one. And then I think there was like one about money for COVID. I think there was a COVID allocating more money for COVID. There was the Ukraine one that just passed, and then there was the CHIPS one. So there's 4, right? He's been president for a long fucking time. I can only think of 4 off the top of my head. I'm sure he's done more. But I don't think it happens like there isn't a stack of papers for this president to sign every day. That's just like that's some wild shit.
There's an actual website just for this.
For how many bills he's signed. But you also got to think like administrative, like you got to think it has to be bills that Congress signed. That's what we're talking. 42 that have been passed by Congress and he signed, he approved.
That's what I googled.
I can only think of 4. The Democrats really need to do a better job of like singing their victories.
What they need to do is actually show us everything they pass, or people should do anyways.
I subscribe to the White House on YouTube. They stream every day. Every day they're on there streaming. There's like
do they stream stuff doing? Do they stream the video cameras that show you what everybody does in there?
They stream
walking around.
Okay, so there's a press secretary, right?
Yeah,
because
she's doing a bang up job.
She's powerful. You don't think she's awesome? Damn, man, you've been listening to this guy for a while. I gotta fight uphill.
No. Hold on. I want to just take that away from you real quick.
Yeah.
I don't base any of my political shit on this, Rogan, that TV, or any of it. I do my own shit.
Don't you think a good
I watch my own videos of the stuff that goes on. I read the bills that they pass, and I look through them to see what all went into it.
You just found out there were 42. Don't tell me you read any of those.
Not all of them. I read the infrastructure one because that one's a big one.
That one's super important.
The big ones that people, the Roe v. Wade one. Let's take that one for instance. The Supreme Court.
All right.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
They didn't ban it. They said the state has that right, which in all case in point, the state should have the right, their people in that state should have the right to choose in that state what they want to do. So the Supreme Court was like, we don't have time for this, we don't want it, let the states have it. It is a constitutional right for the states to choose what they want to do. Let's give it back to that. That was their right.
Yeah.
They didn't ban it, they said, we're done, we don't want to deal with it anymore, because who knows how many fucking cases
How
they
did
have.
we get to abortion? We've jumped to abortion.
Policies.
Okay. Biden didn't sign any policies.
He didn't sign that one, no. But you watched the left play it as something that was going to be against women's rights.
Well, some women consider it against their wives.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not those women.
Hold on. Why? Where do they get their news?
Why do they consider it?
There's a reason. They get their news off of people who bitch about it on Facebook, or they get their news from one of the sites that only show that side.
Oh yeah, I'll agree with you all day if I think that there's internet echo chambers. I'm just saying that.
But
all I'm trying to prove is that he's one of those internet echo chambers.
But they never researched their stuff. They never really read the. I read the bill and see what they did because I was kind of irritated that people were going off about it. It is literally something that the Supreme Court said we don't want it anymore. Let the states decide, and the states have. Kansas just passed it to keep it.
Yeah.
Oklahoma passed it to fail it.
Yeah.
They've already done that. Which I know.
And then everybody's going to go from Oklahoma to Kansas to have abortions.
Which is, if they want to do that, fucking do it.
Yeah.
It's not my body. I don't care.
I think we're very close on our abortion stance.
I don't want to do this. I want to go one more tangent off.
Oh, no.
If you want to preach to me, my body, my choice, then don't force the fucking vaccine on me.
That's a pretty common thing I've heard. And so
because it wasn't my body, my choice then.
It's true.
But now it's my body, my choice when it benefits you.
That's true.
So it's only, and people only fight for stuff.
But what is the difference between those two things?
The difference is, I don't take the flu shot. I don't want the vaccine.
No. What is the difference between the vaccine, getting the vaccine, and getting pregnant? What is the difference between
the difference? It's not that difference. It's the difference of the people.
No, but there is a difference.
Hold on.
You have to recognize that.
What is it?
The baby can't crawl out of some lady's pussy and get inside your body. That's the difference, dude.
Okay, but...
So those two things aren't really that comparable.
But COVID's not really that deadly either.
I think the whole issue with COVID was how easy it spread, not the mortality rate.
Okay.
It's spread really easily.
So why is there multiple flu strains?
Because the flu evolves.
Why does it evolve?
Because it wants to survive. Because the
the
most efficient version of the flu will always survive.
You can ask Mom this too.
And the most efficient version is constantly going to be changing and adapting to stay the efficient version.
But why does it have to adapt?
Because we're adapting to the flu.
How are we adapting?
We're all in this game, baby.
I know, but how do we evolve to the flu?
Wait, what?
How do we adapt to the flu?
Our immune system memorizes it.
But not only that, but people take the shot to not get it.
Yeah.
So that flu then has to mutate to go around it.
Hold on.
It doesn't matter. It mutates to go. Anytime you get a disease, it mutates whenever you start. If you play that game, that stupid game, what's it called? That one where you can infect the world and you watch it mutate and shit.
Love that game. Yeah.
If you watch it,
start in Madagascar.
You have to start. You have to constantly evolve it because they're always finding ways to kill you.
Yeah.
So the virus, any virus, is just like an animal or just like us. We want to evolve. It wants to evolve to stay.
Yeah.
Technically, it's a sentient being. But I
think you could make that argument.
Okay.
Wait, I don't know about sentient, but you definitely say it's alive. Sentient means it can
let me go back to my spiritual stuff. It is like a second density being before consciousness, or a first density.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So it's still energy and it wants to keep going. Well, when you give the COVID shot, you start evolving that COVID to try to go around that shot. It'll still go through your shot, but it learns, and so it mutates in your body, and you spread it to somebody else, and then it goes in them, and then it mutates again, just like with animals and stuff. You mutate as you pass from host to host. However, I had COVID. I have never had it again. I know people who've had the shot, the booster and everything, and they've had it 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
And in my field, I'm around tons of people all the time, and the concerts we went to, I was packed full of people, still didn't get it. I feel that the flu shot, just like the flu, because if I get the flu one year, I won't get it again the next, because my immune system keeps it for about 1.5 years. So so I skip a year. So I get a flu, skip a year, get flu. So every 2 years I get a flu. With COVID, I got it once, never got it again. But people who get the COVID shot usually get it. It does mitigate the effects. I'll give them that. It does keep you from dying if you need it. If you're old, I understand that. But being healthy, I don't need it.
I don't think anybody disagrees with you that I would.
Then why do they want me to take it?
Because
if you have it,
because you're contagious for less time. That's the biggest reason, right?
I stayed here the whole time. I didn't care. If I have it...
Yeah, but you're contagious before you have symptoms, right? And I think the COVID vaccine decreased that.
Well,
and also decreased the amount of time you would be sick, right?
I would say that, but the first person that got it here, we all quarantined right before we even showed symptoms. So when we were contagious, we weren't... Mom said we were contagious only whenever we had the fever.
I get that that's your experience, but, like, I'm saying... And I'm I feel like the COVID vaccine is way past, and I also don't think that it like
they made a new one.
It doesn't connect to Roe v. Wade very well, so it's weird to me that we're on the COVID. But for me, I saw COVID vaccine as kind of like a public health thing. Like, hey, we're like, okay, actually, this is a really good time to bring this up. I subscribe to the idea that the moment you were born, you're kind of agreeing to a contract. The contract is that you're gonna like be a part of a society.
Ooh.
I know, right?
Getting some deep stuff here.
Yeah. So the moment like you subscribe and you decide, okay, I'm going to be a participant in this society. That means you are going to obey the laws of which society that you're born in. All this is random. You can be born in North Korea. You can be born here.
I get what you're saying.
But the moment you get, like at some point you have a choice. You'd be like, okay, I don't want to be a part of the society. So you either start committing crimes, doing things outside of what the society accepts, or you leave the society, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm playing society, if I'm playing this game, right, then I want to do what's best for everybody on this ship. I'm like out here with y'all.
So how does that
we're all
have to do
team
with the ship?
What? If I'm over here acting like a fucking biohazard weapon and spewing COVID on people,
they don't force the. Nobody
did.
But nobody. If that was the case, then everybody would have to take the flu shot for the same reason, because the flu kills more people than COVID killed.
Well, the flu has a lower mortality rate.
No, it does not. There's a higher mortality rate. It has killed more people
every version
than
of
COVID.
COVID?
Yes, because COVID, it's 99% survival.
We got to be really smart about how we phrase this, because you say the flu kills more people than COVID. Does that mean more people get the flu and have had the flu and have died from the flu?
Well, when we were all quarantined, not very many people.
Yeah, the flu didn't kill hardly anybody that year, but COVID killed a lot of people. So doesn't that kind of suggest that COVID is first of all more transmissionable and
it was
a
more,
higher
so the thing
mortality
about
rate per capita? So someone who would survive the flu might not survive COVID, though. That's true, right? Otherwise, why would we lock down? Why would we have a vaccine? Why would we have the mad scramble to the vaccines? Like
control. 34,000 from 2018 to 2019. 34,157. And you can't really go off of the COVID one very easily, because they would mark you as COVID just because you had had COVID.
That's man. When I was listening to Destiny a lot of people would bring that up whenever they brought up COVID, and he had some really good talking points for it. I don't remember any of them, but I know that that's like, I think how it has to do with like how hospitals charge anyways or something. I don't know. I'm not the person to ask about that, but I know that there's a lot of really good arguments
and
against
like what
it.
Mom said, she saw that stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that there's like a really there's a legitimate reason why that was going on, and I think if you look into it, it's not as I would have to like that one. I'm not ready to. I'm not ready. I wasn't ready to have that COVID talk. I was ready to have this talk.
So I gave you the things 34,000 from the flu, correct?
Yeah.
Since COVID started to now is 14,593 from COVID.
Deaths?
Yes.
I thought over 1 million people died.
No, 1 million people got sick.
What do you mean?
I just looked it up.
If you get sick and you die and you have COVID, then there's a COVID death, right?
And this is because I know she has somebody she worked with that had this happen to them. They had a family member die. This was back when the hospital, and it's not any left-wing, right-wing problem. It is a corporation problem here. When somebody died with COVID, they got a bunch of funding and a bunch of money if that happened to try to fight it. She had somebody at her work had a family member die, and the hospital told them they would give them $7,000 if they let them write down that COVID.
7,000.
And it was over like a heart attack or something. They died from
illegal.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's like 3 people in this town that did it.
If I talk to a lawyer right now and I said, hey, I just found out a major hospital, a major healthcare provider is offering money to change the cause of death.
That's bribery.
Huge.
But
you realize the New York Times would fucking want to hear that shit. That's illegal.
Yeah, but they don't.
Now you have to discredit. Hold on. Now you have to discredit the New York Times and every other news affiliate that does not take in that story up.
Well, that's all fake news, according to Trump.
Oh my god. That was the smartest thing Trump could have done, is tell everybody that the news is fake, and then that
the smartest thing for him to do is shut up.
Him to shut up?
Yeah, and stop bragging about shit that
I don't know. I kind of want him to run again because I think he'll lose. but I also don't really want Joe Biden to win. That's my concession I'll slide to you. I don't want an 80-year-old man running the country, period.
I honestly think they should. So 35 is when you can run for president. I think they should have somebody in their 40s at least do it.
That'd be sweet, right?
Yeah, somebody younger, because and this is my problem with all the established. This is why I like term limits, because we don't need people in there that are from the Depression telling us how to live life when our life has changed. Like you said a while ago, we went through 3 sets of. What did you say? Three
generations worth of technological innovation in like 10 years.
They only know the Depression when they had to eat roaches and whatever the hell they ate for dirt.
Do you think they really remember the Depression?
Her grandpa does.
That's wild.
He can tell you all kinds of shit about it.
Damn. I need to have a conversation.
You need to go, if you want to do a history thing, you go talk to him.
That'd be good to get him on.
Like, he built shit over in Las Vegas, and he tells me stories, and it's just crazy.
When it was just gangsters running that?
Yeah. He'll tell you stories about his Depression era. How many kids did he have? Or how many siblings did he have? 12.
That's wild. I think about that movie Casino. You ever see that movie?
Yeah.
When they take the dude out to the cornfield to beat him to death with a ball bat. That movie is hard to watch.
He's told some stories about his shit. Like, I'll ask him random stuff sometimes just to see what it was like back then. He can still remember all that shit, what they did. He wore hand-me-downs. He did this as work. They had to do this. They had to do that. They didn't have AC. They didn't have a fridge that fucking ran off of electricity.
Do you agree with my social contract? Do you agree with my premise?
So I'm going to add to that.
Premise.
I'm going to add to that.
Can I get your pen? By the way, mine's dead.
Yeah. I'm going to add to that a little bit.
Okay. So you agree with that? And
I agree with that 100%.
Okay.
There's a reason for that.
That's where we have to start.
Because I feel and believe that we choose when we're going to be born, where we're going to be born, for a reason, karmatically.
If you think I deserve not to...
Hold on. Listen.
Okay, I'll listen.
And even in as much as I dislike the Bible, you know this, it does have some good spiritual stories in it that teach you good things. You cannot evolve and get better without pain. You can't learn without mistakes. Your whole childhood to your 30s, you've made mistake after mistake and learned from each one, and you apply it through your life, correct?
I would add a caveat that you can learn from experience, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your experience.
Yeah.
If your grandpa was missing a bunch of fingers and he was like, don't ever feed the sharks, I bet that sticks with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you're still going to feed the stupid shark.
Because you're going
to go, I bet you I could do this without losing my fingers.
Listen, I agree with you all the way up, and then I'm adding a little bit too. I'm doing the same thing you're doing.
No, I get you. So, it's the soul thing that I go with. And I'm sorry I got off of this, but this is
okay.
This is how I think.
It all roots back to your axiomatic beliefs, right? Like what drives like what your opinions are. Your opinions are driven by your ethics and your morals and what you believe.
So, I believe that when we die, we come back again somewhere in life. Rather, like a reincarnation of sorts. Your spirit, because all of us are energy.
But you think that karma impacts that in a way?
Yes. Okay. One, hell was never a real thing in the Bible because it was never a real translation. It was added by a king who wanted to make the Bible his own thing.
Right.
So therefore, something has to happen after you die. You might just stop living. I don't know. I don't think so. Because there's no reason why you should. I mean, if shit evolves, it eventually evolves a consciousness when it can start self-thinking. So...
But we certainly did.
Yeah, and if you believe in the different levels of density, up to the 12th, which is Christ density, which is what Christ is supposed to be, it's pure love, which is very hard to do. Like, love everything no matter what. If you believe up to that, then we're in the third density, trying to get to the fourth, and trying to move up, but you can only do that by learning that love, learning how to be a better spiritual person. I don't know how to...
So, okay. One thing that might be kind of interesting to ask that I think you and I differ on is I think you and I would use a lot of the same. We would have a lot of the same values and opinions and beliefs about like where life begins and ends and like what's important. But you would use the word soul and I would use the word consciousness. So like, do you believe life ends in a human body.
It's a consciousness, but it's different for me. My consciousness is different than your consciousness.
Probably, yeah.
Mine is, we are all energy. We are all electricity. You get down the very small side, we're all vibrations.
Yeah.
The whole, everything we know is all vibrations. So when we become that vibration, we go back into that vibration. That's why me and you, or anybody else, can walk into a room and you can tell when somebody's upset because you can feel it, that energy. You can think about somebody sometimes and feel that something happened and go, oh shit, you know, you're like, just think about somebody that'll text you for some reason. Stuff like that. There's stuff that when you were growing up as a kid, you knew, but didn't know how you knew.
Instincts.
Is it instinct?
Yeah.
You knew how to do something. Nobody ever taught you that is a taught skill, but you don't know why.
How do you decide what a taught skill and what isn't a taught skill?
What's an instinct?
Something that our DNA has it programmed within us that we are like adapted to do, usually specialize in.
Why are we specialized in that?
In what?
What you just said. Why is our DNA
Well, depends on
programmed to do that?
Depends on like what. Depends on the skill, right? Like, what do you?
Why did you get that skill? What?
Give me an example of the skill.
So, if you're calling, okay, say,
because you know I go very.
I'm gonna try to go as deep as my memory can possibly go right now.
Okay.
I knew how to take things apart and fix them and put them back together with no training. Nobody ever showed me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why I knew that.
I have a good idea. I have my own explanation, but yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
You grew up poor. When things broke, you had to fix them.
Before I was.
You watched people who were poor. When things broke, they fixed them.
Okay.
You are curious about electronics from a very young age. You fucked with electronics, and you got confident, and you just got better at it.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how else to tell you. Like,
okay, what about? Let's go back to this.
This stuff
when
is
we
directly
went to
related
church,
to shit that you really cared about. You really cared about video games, so you, of course, you're gonna get good at fixing video games. And
what
shit
about?
break.
What about whenever I was sitting in church and thought all that shit was stupid and didn't?
From a young age?
And I knew it was false. Like I could.
At what age? What age are we talking?
Probably back when I got baptized, about 9. Is about as far.
9, and you didn't tell me. You made me roll through that until I was like 14.
No, I couldn't tell anybody.
I was rolling.
You know
hard.
how that
I was
happened.
rolling hard for Jesus.
That's you don't
I was
go
on the
against
Jesus Roadshow.
Yeah,
fucker.
but when you're homeschooled and that shit's shoved down your throat, and you try to tell mom that, good luck with that.
Hence the manifesto.
You would be in the center of that damn room over there with a seance of fucking people praying and throwing holy water and some priest beating you with a fucking crucifix problem.
So you agree that was a toxic environment?
Yes, very toxic. Yes, I will 100% agree. It was something.
That's the manifesto.
And man, I don't want to say it wrong. It's something people hide behind because they don't want to fix the shit that's wrong with them. Or they're unhappy and think that it's some being that may or may not exist.
The weird thing to me is, and we've kind of gotten off topic again, but the weird thing to me is like how people kind of, you said hide behind, but I would say like they hold, like it's like Jesus and his love is the only thing holding you back from snorting pounds of meth and like blowing people behind a Wendy's or something. They're like, oh, I'm a different person because of Jesus. So if you ever like lose that if your faith ever gets shaken, are you gonna go back to snorting meth and blowing people behind the Arby's? Like, how close are you to just losing your shit?
I'm gonna tell you this right now, and this is one thing I agreed with Arron Ra or whatever his name was. Arron Ra.
Or is it Arron Ra?
Arron Ra.
Arron Ra.
This is one thing I agreed and I liked about him. He put the statistics up there about murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and druggies. All of them are religious.
Oh, I don't know. I assume so.
Atheist was like way the fuck down there. But most people, it was people who were practicing that right then and there. It wasn't people who it was some people that came from it. Most of the druggies were from that, like our lifestyle.
I would think it'd be like where people would find religion and as they're like hitting rock bottom.
So let's steer this back towards this politic thing real quick.
Okay.
Because I can incorporate this into that.
Okay.
Why is it all our politicians, no matter left, right, middle, it don't matter, try to push the God stuff?
Because there is an insane amount of a voting population in North America that is evangelical Christian. if you win that, if you have them as your base, if they at least think, well, at least he's a Christian, if you have that in your back pocket, you're going to be so much more likely to win an election. So if you are a politician, what's your goal?
To win.
To win.
Yeah, I got you. So why is
How
our
do you
population
win
that
with-
big of?
What's that?
Why is our population that big of that?
Why is there so many evangelical Christians in the United States? I would chalk it up to a couple things. One, there was a lot of influence in the early stages of our country.
Before technology?
Yeah. And then two, we've really fucking fumbled the ball with our public education. Like we just, and then I would say those are the two biggest things for sure. Like it's just part of our culture. Like it's ingrained in our culture. Like you think about how many Catholics came over here from Ireland when Ireland was during like the potato famine. So Ireland's population used to be double what it is right now. There's around 8 million people, I think, living on Ireland. It used to be.
Didn't they come here?
Used to be closer to 20. They were producing enough potatoes to feed themselves. They were exporting all of those potatoes because England owned the land on which those potatoes are being produced. England owned the labor of those potatoes and the production of those potatoes, right? A lot of these English landowners didn't even live in Ireland. They just owned the land and they were getting like money from that land. So they didn't even like give a fuck if like the people died.
When did that stop?
The potato famine went on all the way up until when was the potato famine?
I don't know, but when did Ireland take it back? Did they take it back, or is it still?
Well, Northern Ireland is still part of like the British Empire, I think, right?
I thought so. I thought I saw something a few years ago about them taking it back.
So it's not back all the way yet. But yeah, they fucked over. I was talking to an Uber driver, and he was just kind of like laying it down with it. He was basically talking about how the Irish they're interesting people because they have like a really good attitude. But he was talking to me about how many people claim, like 80 million people in the United States claim Irish descent, 60 million in Australia, and then a shitload like all over the world. He's like, one thing about the Irish, he's like, we have a lot of friends. And I was like, that's a pretty good way to put it. Like there's more people who claim Irish culture and descent that don't live in Ireland than live in Ireland.
Yeah,
they've never abused,
we have Irish.
They've never been imperialistic. They've never colonized anyone. They've never enslaved anyone.
They just want to be left alone and drink.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, look for the perfect pint. Yeah.
Of Guinness?
Of Guinness, yeah. It's at the Guinness factory. They would hang me if I heard me say it, but that's where it is. I've had them. I've had a lot of them.
Do you want to go back to this?
Yeah, let's listen to a little bit more.
They want us divided in every single subgroup they possibly divide us into so that we could have no...
That's kind of just the natural fall of the internet right now, is the subgroups. Like there's echo chambers because that's how the internet, like people want to be around other people that agree with them and they're fine. This guy, he doesn't ever push back, but he's like trying to bring him back into like not crazy zone. He's
Joe
like,
Rogan to Alex Jones.
Yeah, he's like trying to rope this guy back into like a semi like agreeable stance. And he's like, it was way less racist. He's like, well, you know why it's way less racist? He's like trying to like. So this Andy dude just like runs with the ball, and everybody's just like, all right, he'll come back. What questions can you not ask?
People gotta understand, Russia was gonna take...
Okay, I know. Okay, now I know. He's about to shit on Ukraine. And that's like kind of like something I've been following pretty hard.
Have you listened to actual Putin's speech? Have you actually listened? Okay.
It seems I've heard it was boring.
No. You hear it again like I do. Watch it for yourself before you judge, because that's exactly what he fucking said. He was wanting to do is what he says he wants to do. He said there was chemical labs on the Ukraine-Russian border, and he didn't like it. He also said that Ukraine...
How does that give him the right to invade, right?
Hold on. He was also saying Ukraine was killing their own people like the Nazi parties did. And he went back to take it back from them because of what they were treating their guys. That's his premise. Hold on.
Do you think he believes that? Or do you think...
I do believe he does.
You think Putin believes that?
It's fucking Russia. They believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. Mother Russia is Mother Russia. It's best in the world. And that polar bear over there can ride in the car with you.
So where this guy's about to go, I'm pretty sure he's about to talk about how much money we're about to spend to help Ukraine. He's going to talk about it in a negative way. And for me, that's like, okay, that almost feels like...
There is a lot of unspent money on certain countries that I think we could tone down a little bit and give it back to us and try to make our society a little bit better, because we got too many people.
They're fighting one of our biggest rivals.
They're not even a superpower. We're the superpower. Us and China are the two biggest superpowers.
But because they have
North Korea thinks they are.
Once you get like nuclear weapons to the level that like we have, China has, and Russia has, you don't have to be on the same level like
China's better
anymore.
China has that ballistic missile.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that. We're talking about Russia and the United States right now.
There's a couple things.
Okay. Why should we not?
Why are we egging on wars? Why are we picking at both sides and making them fight?
We didn't.
No, we didn't start.
Yeah.
But why are we intentionally making them fight? Who?
How do we intentionally make Russia fight?
We post stupid shit. We talk shit about both
sides. We should
sides.
have free speech. We should say whatever we want.
The right wing sides with Russia. The left wing sides with fucking Ukraine.
I think
both sides are the same fucking bird.
Side with Ukraine. Like 60%.
Watch that.
60% said in a poll that they'd be willing to support Ukraine even if it meant it impacted their life in a negative way financially.
Why?
I don't know why those.
Why are we upset about Russia? I mean, I understand why Russia. We're upset because Russia's going to go take a country. They're going to go invade. Hold on. They're going to go invade a country.
Another.
What did we do with Afghanistan?
I'm not going to defend our invasion.
What did we do with Iraq?
I'm not going to defend. First of all, I would never defend the invasion of Iraq.
Okay, we did it, but yet we're being, what do you call that? Hypocritical whenever we're watching another country do it again. We do it just fine. It's fine for us. That's why most of the world hates us. It's because we're kind of egotistical like that.
I don't think that's comparable.
Is it? Why? What was the real reason we were in Afghanistan?
The Taliban people had
Did they?
The Taliban weren't like electing people through a democratic process.
Why does it matter if it's not our fucking country?
Wait, hold on. The democratic process is important because it gives people a say in who their leaders are.
I get that.
Right?
But why are we trying to force that down other people's throats?
I don't agree with the invasion of Afghanistan or Iraq. I'm just saying it's different.
Iraq was a messed up deal.
Hold on. I'm saying those things are different than Ukraine because Ukraine had a democratic process, which they elected Zelensky as their president. And
so does Russia, but...
Ukraine is different from Afghanistan and Iraq because of those reasons.
Okay. He went because that's what he made to start to go, is the Nazi thing. He used that as his go.
He said that there were Nazis in Ukraine.
Killing their own people. The chemical lab one was another one he said.
So there's two reasons. Let's start with one, right? The killing of people. So there's two reasons. Let's go one at a time, right?
No, the chemical lab is what he started with. The killing people is whenever he started to. He started with the chemical labs by saying he didn't like that, and he was going to do something about it.
Were they weapons labs or were they just like?
We don't know. They're ours.
Yeah.
No, they're ours.
I assume
we're not.
I assume the United States has
we
labs
run them
in every country.
Well, yeah, no. Who wouldn't fucking have it?
So why is that a reason? For
because it's right on the border, and they're afraid that. I mean, who's not afraid of a chemical warfare?
We don't invade Mexico because we think that there might be like a chemical warfare that break out between us and Mexico. Like that, you don't get. Imperialism is unacceptable between superpowers. It's unacceptable. We can't do it. We just can't. We're done with that. That time is gone. We have nukes now. No more imperialism, right?
Yeah.
Except Russia can't get through their head. They're still using imperialistic tactics to invade countries, depose the government, institute a puppet government of which they can control. They've done this before. They're trying to do it in Ukraine.
Yeah. Okay,
They've done it multiple times before.
I don't think
Crimea, Georgia.
I don't think Russia ever lost their communism, though. I think that's always been...
What does that have to do with us? Like, we still have to defend Ukraine.
I understand that.
I've gotten that point across to you, right?
Yes,
it's important for us to be on the side of Ukraine.
Neither one of those sides should be fighting each other.
I agree. It'd be great if Russia just left. That'd be great.
Yeah, but Putin's trying to save face.
I'm going to give you... You didn't bring up this talking point, but I hear this talking point a lot because I listen to a lot of debates about Russia and Ukraine and who we should support. The Azov Battalion. What do you know about them?
Nothing.
Okay, good. There is a talking point on the conservative or on that side, I don't care what their political affiliations are, on the pro-Russia side, that say there are Nazis within the Ukraine army. Have you heard that at all?
There's Nazis in our army.
There's That's a great rebuttal. I couldn't have given you a better rebuttal.
There's Nazis walking among us now.
It's the Azov Battalion. Like 10% of them have a picture. There's a picture of like 10% of them where some of them have Nazi tattoos. It's like that. You could get that picture in the United States. So that is a talking point that I want you to watch out for.
That's the problem with society, though, is there's always going to be people who hate other people for some reason, and they're going to be labeled as a Nazi, or they're really going to be a Nazi. That's
a big problem. This is why you need to get on Destiny Stream, because this is currently what he's fighting against. He's saying you can't change the word Nazi. You can't be like, I don't know if children can decide if they're trans or not. And then the other person say, well, you're a Nazi. And you're like, wait,
it's a social problem.
How am I a Nazi?
It's a word we throw around when we...
At the worst people we think.
It's like if I got mad at what you said and I don't have a smart rebuttal.
Yeah.
I don't have an intelligent reply to show you my side. I'm gonna throw out Nazi because that's supposedly supposed to stop you, because that just means my conversation's over. That's like me throwing insults at you to make you shut up.
And then if you have a platform and somebody brings up that person and be like, oh yeah, I talked to him, he was a Nazi. You can now, the name that you attributed to them, you can now recall it as a memory and say it again and attribute it to the name that you created. They weren't a Nazi. You just said they were a Nazi. Now you're memorizing them as
real
Nazis. And then your audience thinks that there's a Nazi. There's a real problem online.
There are real Nazis.
Yeah.
But not everybody's a damn Nazi. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean that you're a Nazi.
No, I'm talking about level 4 chess, dude. The biggest problem with the left right now is, and I'm further left than I am right by any means, but the biggest problem with the left right now is they're taking words like Nazi and they're just shotgunning it into anybody that disagrees with them.
No, that's 100% true. That's because
it weakens my arguments. Whenever I say I like Joe Biden or I like these things, it makes me look weaker because I have to give all these qualifications because weird shit is going to happen on libs of TikTok and weird shit happens like on all the people take these fucking really crazy examples and they're like, this is what they want. They want to take your kids to drag shows.
So there was something on that, but that's just a snap. We call it snapshots at work.
Yeah.
You can walk by and we could be busting ass on a job all day long, but the minute we sit down, they're going to walk by and say, well, he's fucking lazy. That's a snapshot.
Yeah.
So that's a snapshot of shit. Yeah, that's fucked up. That is like the Weimar Republic shit. Yeah. That is fucked up. That's the start of that shit. But that's not all people who do that.
I'm glad you recognize that.
Real drag, I don't know if I should call them queens. The real drag people were actually really cool back in the day. They were like the nicest people you ever thought. They wanted to dress and feel pretty cool. Fucking let them. Don't fucking involve a goddamn kid in it. So, the real ones, cool. Those people are hiding behind a social norm where they want to fit into a clique that they've never fit into before, and that's the easiest clique to get into that point.
Who? I kind of like spaced out for a second.
The people who flare about the drag thing with kids, those people want to fit into a side. And right now, the side is transgendered, open, being energetic and happy about it.
What's wrong with any of that,
some of them have, I'm not going to say them all, probably 5-10% of the people in this whole group of
trans people,
anything you want to put in there,
less than 5% of the population.
Yeah, if you want to put all those people in there, I'd say 5% of those people have nefarious reasons to be in that.
I'll give you that. I wouldn't even argue that.
Okay, so there's that 5%, and that snapshot's that 5%.
Yeah.
Nobody shows you the good side of anything. The news is always about, just like left and right news.
You don't hear about the planes of land.
You don't hear about the good stuff that somebody did. You only see the snapshot of what they did bad, so they can control that narrative on you.
Yep.
That is that side pushing that they're all like this. They're all want to take your kids and turn them into whatever the fuck they want. There are a percentage that want to do that. Yes.
Well, as long as you recognize that, I don't care who you listen to. That's the only thing you have to recognize.
I don't just listen to something and agree to everything. Okay. I always disagree, and I always look up my own shit, especially if it's out there. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. With Alex Jones, I didn't know how to disagree with that, and that was weird. He had stuff that you could never find.
That's true.
Did you see his picture whenever he got told he had to pay $4 million?
I watched the video yesterday of him getting caught. like he was like, oh, they got his like cell phone or whatever. Did you know that?
Yeah, they released all his text messages
Yeah.
for like 2 years.
Yeah, which is insane. And they're like, so you lied to us. And he's like, and they're like, do you know what defamation is?
Yeah,
he's fucked. He's for sure. He's
and
screwed.
he's one of those ones that go off. His cheese slid off his cracker. There's another guy followed, and he was called Leak Project, and he was kind of like this, but hardcore conspiracy about them covering up aliens and shit. He was one of those ones that towards the end I quit listening to him because he got so far out there. He had got rid of his house and was living in his van and it was selling tinfoil hats, like ball caps that were tinfoil. And he was doing his shit for broadcasting out in the middle of the desert so that people wouldn't know where he was to do them. And he went to the Area 51 raid and he was videotaping, showing all the cars, the same fucking cars over and over again to show how many people that was supposedly there. I quit listening. I was like, yep, fucking, he's done. He's too far. There's a point in conspiracies and shit that you can get into that you die in that rabbit hole and keep going.
There's no return.
There is a point of no return, and you have to take breaks.
Well, that's probably a good time to call it. Point of no return. Before we get there, batteries turning low.
No.
It's an hour. We just did an hour.